All right, we're streaming.
Yeah.
The first sequel was called Shock Treatment, and it was very bad. It was horrid.
Yeah, I
I
watched
mean,
it. It's terrible. It's
the
total
fans
shit.
stayed away in droves. But that they had planned the third one called Rocky Horror 2: Revenge of the Old Queen, and Tim Curry said no.
I was just watching the one who flew over the cuckoo's nest movie.
Oh, that's another good movie.
It's like Jack Nicholson,
Classic.
Danny DeVito, and that guy from Back to the Future, Doc Brown.
Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He is really old now.
Yeah, he's totally old and gray.
I think he's still working though.
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd. Let's see here. Yeah, he's actually done voice in they have a Freak Brothers cartoon now with the fabulous furry Freak Brothers actually passing out after Woodstock and then waking up again at the same age as they were in present time roughly. And they got Woody Harrelson and John Goodman doing two of the voices of the Freak Brothers, but they had Christopher Lloyd on that too.
Nice.
Once again, who knows where Norbert is?
Or
Christopher
Nishant
Lloyd.
said he was going to be here.
Born in 1938. The first sequel was called Shock Treatment, and it was very bad. It was horrid. Yes.
Yeah, watch
I mean,
it. It's
the
terrible. It's
fans
shit.
stayed away in droves. Someone's quoting me to myself, but they had planned the third one called. Who's quoting me to me?
What's that?
Not me.
Interesting.
I haven't said shit.
Yeah, me too.
Ah.
Well, the YouTube was playing over on my other screen.
Oh, okay.
I'm using the audio interface, and things have to be set up differently on Discord than they do with VDO.
Christopher Lloyd was born October 22nd, 1938.
Norbert said, "Give me 10 minutes."
Does that make him older than you or younger than you, Moss?
That's older than me.
Not by much though.
14 years. He's 83. I'm almost 70.
It's gotta be nice to still be working at 83.
Yeah. Be
I mean,
nice
he
to be
obviously
making
doesn't
his
have
kind of
to.
money at 83.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to be doing when my money runs out. Another 45 months.
Oh, lots of naps.
No,
Back to-
I'm talking about paying
what
the
you're talking
bills,
about.
Joe.
I know what you're
Naps
talking
don't pay the bills.
about. Well, it can as a substitute teacher.
I worked one day last week and I felt great while I was doing it, and when I got home I couldn't even get in my front door. I didn't have enough balance. I had to take 3 swings at my front door. And
Well,
then I fell down screaming in my chair.
Then apply for disability.
Joe, I am already on Social Security, and that pays the same as disability, and you can't get
Right.
both.
Okay.
Oh man.
And if you're on disability,
Then-
you can't make anything above disability, or they take it away from you.
Then become a professional bank robber. God, why do I gotta think of everything?
Joe,
Joe is the brain of the operation.
He is.
I guess so. I mean, he has no idea how I'm going to run from the bank when I can't walk. I mean, hobbling out on my cane is not really a getaway.
Do you do what they did? What was it? 20 odd years ago with that guy with the neck collar, the pizza delivery guy. The neck collar bomb.
I have no idea, Joe.
You strap a collar on some pizza delivery guy and say, "Rob the bank," or it goes boom.
Oh, I remember that story. Yeah. Yep. Poor guy was.
Norbert
dead.
says, give me 10 minutes.
What does Nishant say?
I didn't ask.
Has Nishant said he was going to be here today?
Yeah, he did. I saw it. He said it at 1:32, and it's 3:11 now, so where are you?
I just sent him a message.
I saw
It's
that.
9 p.m. here. It's probably the same to him
See, if
as
people
to
would
me.
buy my flicking music, I wouldn't have to worry about it. You can't make
Get
a
it on
living
more
off of
platforms.
200 CDs, you know?
People don't buy
Turn your
CDs
other
anymore.
podcast into a money-making business.
Yeah.
Sell ad space.
Are you on the streaming platforms?
What streaming platform?
Any?
There's one idea.
nobody buys CDs anymore.
Oh, well,
Yeah, nobody buys CDs anymore.
I
don't even
know
have a
that.
CD player.
I've sold about as many copies of my MP3s are such crap, though. I mean, musically.
People don't care.
Yeah,
People
that's-
care about convenience.
But if you're wanting to make money, you got to do
Well,
it.
I am listed on a couple of things. I haven't really pushed it. I've got my page on. My mind is blanking. You guys put me on the spot here. I can't think.
I'm being attacked by a midget.
The attack midget.
Who was that?
Say hi to everybody.
Oh.
Come over here. Say hi to
Bandcamp.
everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I've got
Okay.
a Bandcamp account, and I get people to listen to it, and I've sold a little bit there, but you're not going to make a living on that.
It's been 18 years now.
My
Anytime I want to, out the door, banhammer style.
my boy makes a little bit of money off of his streaming stuff. I don't know that it's enough to live on.
Well, I found out what Spotify actually pays, and it isn't.
It's all
worse
garbage
than-
from all of the different
It's
platforms.
worse than the record companies used to charge.
It's a fool.
I mean, you were lucky to make a living as a rock star with the record companies getting all the money, but Spotify's worse.
YouTube's not a whole lot better from what I understand, or it's getting that way. Unless you're one of the top, 1% of performers.
Like mintCast.
So none of you...
Checking out Odyssey, and it keeps not being good enough. I can't even get my account all set up. I don't know what it is there. They don't want people doing anything. They just want to say, "Hey, we've got a streaming service. Come use us."
Off with the watch.
I am not getting Discord. Look at all these messages you guys have been sending. I've not gotten a single notification on my phone. What's going on with Discord?
When was the last time you opened up Discord on your phone?
I'm on there. You know, I'm on there all week long usually. I didn't.
On your phone?
Yeah. 90%.
Yeah, I keep my phone in the living room when I'm on here.
Look. I get too many messages on too many platforms for me to keep notifications on my phone.
Well, I keep them on for certain things. With you really got granular control with Discord. So I've got them on if somebody doesn't @ me or the direct messages. I've got those on, and then anything in the general for mintCast. That way, because I tend to think we need to be able to get a hold of each other throughout the week.
No, my phone number is posted in one of the documents.
I've got it saved. I don't always. Yeah, here's a message from Moss on the 21st about Triskel that I didn't get. Here's one from.
I was wondering about that.
One from Joe not doing.
We're talking along, and then we're not.
Not doing. We watched that last night. It's pretty good.
What was that?
Oh, you sent a message saying you were contemplating ending Paramount Plus.
Yeah. We're going to wait on that until after we've got the new season, which is the last season of The Good Fight.
See, my thing is, if it's just one show, I'm not going to pay for that service just for that one show.
Really? You found something you won't pay for?
Yeah, and this is my recent decision.
Oh, okay. So you're going to start getting rid of those monthly services?
Well, that show made me take a good hard look at what I was paying for. And there was actually 3 or 4 more that have come up that I had forgotten I was paying for. I don't think Discovery Plus was on that list, and I didn't even know I was paying for that anymore. And
we're not paying for that, and
nobody ever uses it.
But Paramount Plus doesn't have enough shows on to make it worth paying for.
No one service really does.
Disney?
Okay, Disney is the exception.
We got Disney, Hulu, ESPN, $19.95 a month plus tax, and we're watching shows all the time. And on Hulu, we're watching all the old comedies that we used to not watch, and we're catching up on, like
Hulu's good for that.
Dharma and Greg, and
Yeah.
and
That's the only
Psych.
place you can get Dharma and Greg.
Psych.
They're still making TV movies with Psych.
They were talking about, well, they've been talking about bringing it back as a TV show for a long time now. But then they just do another made-for-TV movie, and we forget about it for another few years. But yeah, it was a good show. I think it was a good show all the way through, but there towards the end, it just got overly repetitive for me.
Yeah, you can't do that formula, do any formula for too long before people go,
it gets a little dry. Kind of like Monk. Monk was awesome when it first started.
Oh, I love
and
Monk.
There were a couple of small changes throughout that, made it go a little bit longer, but mostly it got overly repetitive. I mean, Monk was the Sherlock that we couldn't get at the time.
Yeah.
Just
that's another
imitation
thing.
of Columbo.
We're watching Eli Stone for as long as we can. It's such... Johnny Lee Miller is such an actor. I mean, doing Eli Stone and then doing Elementary, they're two different people on the screen.
Well, and then Train Spotting. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, that's somewhat a similar character, but he just knocked that out of the park. And then, I mean, he's been doing it, well, since Hackers, at least. Mm-hmm. So 1999?
I would love to see a filming of the show. They did a two-man show of Frankenstein with Johnny Lee Miller and Benedict Cumberbatch. And one would play Dr. Frankenstein and the other would play the monster, and on alternate nights they'd take the other role. And it was like two totally different plays.
Oh.
And I would love to see
I would love to see those two guys acting together. But you don't see enough of Johnny Lee Miller, and he really is, a good actor. And he was in, Dark Shadows, but only for a small part. I don't know why he didn't get more roles. Or hasn't gotten more roles.
Has Josh
He's too short.
Contacted any of you guys?
Who?
Josh Thacker.
No.
Okay, so I've got a rather lengthy letter here from him.
Saying he's not going to be on the show anymore?
Yeah. Did he tell you about all this?
No, I was making the assumption.
I must have really pissed him off, huh?
No, there's something else going on here. And let me read, because he wrote this letter. He started it kind of indicating that he was writing me because he trusted me or something. So let me make sure that I'm not going to divulge something he doesn't want anybody to know.
You can wait till after the stream if you want. It's okay to say Joe's an asshole. He is.
No, this is purely personal in his life. Oh my. It's his personal life. I'm just looking for something saying whether or not I can
divulge.
Yeah.
Well, if he starts out saying that you're the only one he can trust, then
no divulgence required.
No, he starts it by, "Hey Bill, I'm sending this message to you as you're the one that typically seems to be rallying the troops these days, and also as a person that I trust." And that's why I kind of like, maybe I should read this first.
You need more microphone, Bill. You're breaking up a lot.
He started this by saying, "Hey Bill, I'm sending you this message as you're the one that typically seems to be rallying the troops these days, and also as a person that I trust." So that's why I kind of figured I better take a look at the rest of this first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really like Josh, but I know there were one or two times I ticked him off. I love
I
his
like
voice.
Josh too,
He's
but
got
you know.
one of those great voices, you know.
This has got nothing to do with anybody on the show. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and read this to you because it doesn't seem like there's anything on here. Okay, so hey Bill, I'm sending you this message as you're the one that typically seems to be rallying the troops these days, and also as a person that I trust. There has been a recent event that has occurred in my life, and it appears that my time on the podcast and tech in general is going to be done for the foreseeable future. You know what? Let me go ahead and...
Did he get a new job? I know he was
No.
looking for one.
This is some pretty devastating things in his personal life.
Ah,
Oh,
So
then probably either post-show or not at all.
yeah, let's do it. Well, I mean, you guys probably ought
send
to
us a
know.
copy.
Yeah. Yeah, let me go ahead and do that. Just to you two. In this little private pick on Norbert behind his back little...
We have a lot of those. And this isn't exactly private this time.
No. Oh my, that looks long when you do that.
Yes, it does. And your picture's right in the middle of it.
I'll check it out when I'm
Yeah.
not cooking.
Um,
Ooh, I forgot to open the
Okay.
hatch.
Oh my. Oh yeah.
That bad?
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, I've done that way too many times.
But that being said, I hope that we can.
Nothing to
Get
do
up
with that
one
little
day.
spat with Moss.
No, nothing to do with you, Moss.
All right then. Do we need to bring in another host? Because we've only got like 3 regulars at this point. Maybe
We got
4?
4 regulars.
Got 4
If
regulars,
you count Norbert.
but we need to drive home the point with Norbert that he needs to be ready to go online at 3
Yeah,
o'clock.
we need to be ready to start at 3, not he shows up at 3 with half his script done written.
Yeah.
Oh, I got script writing to do. I gotta write down all the cool stuff I've been doing. Well, I actually
Yeah,
3D printed.
we could stand another host, but it's really awkward with Norbert because
Yes.
we've been talking to him for so long about this stuff, and he's not changing anything.
Young people. That's all I got to say about that.
He is pretty. What is he? He's in his 20s still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still in university.
So early 20s. But you know what? By the time I was 20, in my early 20s, I'd already been to war.
Yeah. Combat veteran at 18.
Oh, it took a little longer for me. I mean, I was in Korea at 18 and 19, but I was 21 when I became a combat veteran.
Well,
20.
yeah, well, they tried to get me into the Army. My draft number was 1.
21. Your draft
I-
number was 1,
Yeah.
but you had asthma.
No, I had a lot worse. I did not have asthma, but I had a lot worse issues.
One nut bigger than the other. We had a guy that they wouldn't let him in because one nut was bigger than the other.
That's
actually,
bullshit.
I only have one, but
He was upset too. That guy was.
I'm half as nuts as the rest of you guys.
Boy, if they paid you for being clever.
I know.
Have you thought about doing stand-up?
I
George
can't
Carlin!
expostulate.
No, Moss,
I
okay.
get if I don't have a script, I don't know what I'm saying, and my tongue goes away.
So,
My brain
you
goes
think
away.
those guys that are doing stand-up don't have a script? That's why they give the exact same show on their tour, every place they go, with mild variations based on
I
crowd
would have to
interaction.
be able to actually be holding the piece of paper in front of me.
You don't need the piece of paper, Moss. This is a brand new age. That's what the teleprompter is for.
Are you reading a page
Oh,
right
Google
now?
Glass.
I look at
So
it like this.
what happens
first.
when my teleprompter goes out? No, really, I'm not that funny in that term. I would make a good comedy consultant. You know, someone pays me to tell them what's wrong with their act. I actually had a girlfriend once. I had a girlfriend once who was good stand-up, and she couldn't hold her focus. When she was focused, she was brilliant, but when she was just mailing it in, you could tell it. And I helped her out a little bit with that. I still have some video of her. Well, I had some video of hers on VHS, so who knows?
Oh, crap.
Yeah, VHS wasn't exactly the most stable medium ever.
Well,
Or the most portable, really.
Time. I used to have a wall lined up with tapes that I'm a pirate from way back.
Yeah, my dad had the same thing, and you could fit like 3 full-length movies onto like one tape.
It's less quality that way, but I mean, you know, tapes weren't free, so.
Well, there have been a few years in my life when I was actually on the air radio type. But again, if I didn't know what I was going to say, I'd start tripping on my tongue and I'm lost.
That's what scripts are for.
So I would love to do a talk show, but I'd get lost too many times.
I get kind of the opposite way. If I write everything up and then I try to just read from it, I
actually prefer bullet points.
Yeah,
well,
bullet points,
you know I'm better than most for reading what's printed on the page because you've seen me do it.
Yeah, if I read line by line, I mean it comes out okay. It just comes out very dry.
It just sounds like you're dry
unemotional
and reading off the page, and people can tell when you're doing that.
Oh, this stuff looks so good now.
I can smell it.
It'd be great if I had enough pushiness to sell myself as a voice actor. That'd be a good job for me.
It might be.
Yeah. Or reading out audiobooks.
Yeah.
You could actually build your portfolio right now. Granted, you wouldn't be getting paid for it at first, but LibriVox is always looking.
I've got an account on LibriVox, and I've never submitted a single thing.
You're one of those people, Moss, when I first started listening to mintCast, and you were on there, I tried to put a picture in my head of what you looked like. You know how you do that. I'm real close. I was real close with you. I was way off with Joe.
Well, that's just my normal voice.
When I first started, I was also 60 pounds heavier and didn't have anywhere near this glorious beard.
Well, I was picturing somebody a little older.
How old?
Let's change the subject.
Well, if I had my teeth, nobody would guess how old I am.
I mean, but, you know, Moss,
well, how old do you think I am now? God.
I think you're probably 37.
42?
41.
41. I wasn't that far off.
No one
can
guess my age.
We can't see you. We can't guess.
36.
Close, 38.
Yeah. 38.
Yeah, people
but yeah, I
tell me
see
I
a
look
lot
younger.
I see a lot of people look a lot older than I am, and I find out that they're 10 years younger. I just don't have the wrinkles yet. So.
Yeah, I gotta start moisturizing the face some more, or I'm gonna look like Moss next week.
Ow!
Oh,
Ow!
God.
Ow! I got a headache. That's not helping.
Well, Tony is 2.5 years younger than me. Tony Hughes.
Yeah.
And he retired.
Well, I've been tired a lot of times myself.
Well, he retired.
I've tired, I've retired, I've re-retired.
And I
The
don't
problem
know,
with being retired is they don't pay you for being retired.
No, they don't pay you to sit at home and watch
Now, if
Netflix.
you were lucky enough to have a job for 20 or 30 years, then maybe you have a pension, but a lot of those companies have gone and blown their pension funds too.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the college loan repayment stuff that's going on?
I think it's great, and they should have forgiven all of it.
I'm very thankful for that 10,000. Only 20,000 to go.
All I can say is
some of what I got is Pell Grants, and some of it wasn't Pell Grants.
I got tattoo, and I got the GI Bill and the student loans. I was living.
When my dad went back to school, the state schools and junior colleges were free.
So, I'm not sure how it works, Bill, but since you got Pell Grants, you should get at least 20, and I don't know if you qualify for the other 10 as well. So, like me, I owe almost $16,000 now because I've been paying it down for a decade. So,
well, I'm a fan of Elizabeth Warren. It's an investment in our economy, and we should stop making it a drag on it.
The thing, the
honestly,
thing that makes it relevant right now, though, is that there was a lot of aggressive people getting people signed up for class. Probably shouldn't.
And it was always hilarious how somehow the college knew exactly when the Pell Grant was going up, and that was the exact same time that they bumped up prices to exactly match the Pell Grant, or to make it so that you were paying $50 out of pocket every time.
Yeah, and we've got all these for-profit colleges like South College and...
All colleges are for-profit colleges.
Yeah, well, these ones are specifically existing to take your money, not to teach you anything you could use.
Well, I went to when you go to a university, and one of their sophomore level classes has a 30% first-time pass rate. Almost guaranteed you're going to fail the first time that you take it and have to repay for the entire class. That's a money-making scheme.
Yeah.
If I was smart when I got out of high school, which I wasn't, and I knew I wasn't, and I wish that there was something like 2 years of national service like Bill Clinton put in, I would have got on that in a second.
God forbid. I mean, that would be great.
Yeah.
Everybody has to do 2 years government service of some kind. I'm not saying military. Everybody thinks, oh, you're saying send everybody in the army.
I'm saying get me out in the Forest Service, man.
AmeriCorps.
Yeah. I would have loved that. But if I was smart, I would have gone to UC Irvine. There's Norbert. Right on time as usual.
I'll be back.
Volunteer with a political campaign. I don't care. Something.
Well, in my youth, being an intern meant you were unpaid and you had to find a way to stay alive anyway.
And that really hasn't changed.
Well, if you're an intern in Washington, you get a pretty nice salary these days.
That was a legal requirement because there's so many starving interns.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good. Oh.
And like all the people that Trump shafted saying, well, you got the experience of working for me, you can put that on your resume.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Got the experience of getting shafted by you, yeah. They say Trump has screwed himself so badly that he owes himself $130,000.
Ha! Ha! Stormy Daniels joke. Ha!
Good one. This is a very Saturday mintCast-ish topic.
Oh, yeah.
$205 calories per serving, 300 grams. Do you want to say hi to everybody, Kai? Well, come over here and say hi to everybody. You want to see your pretty face. I mean, it's not as pretty as my face, but hey.
Well, hey, you think we'd rather look at her than you, Joe?
Probably.
Am I a crackhead?
Yes, you're a crackhead. Crackhead.
You've been cracking her head lately?
That wasn't me that cracked her head. Well, there was that one time.
Ceiling.
With the ceiling, yeah. But that doesn't count.
Ceiling. Oh, my cracks are ceilings.
As hard as your head is, Kai, the ceiling would have cracked first.
Yeah, I always said that if I was going to kill myself from jumping out a window, it had to be more than 3 stories, because at that level, I just cracked the cement.
Damn.
But
Man, whoever made this stuff, really good. Oh wait,
Oh, wait.
I made it
You made it.
just now. You watched.
Uh-huh. Yeah, old El Paso and you.
El Paso is in the city, or is it the name of something else?
El Paso is the name of the city. I lived there for
Old El Paso is a brand of
almost
Mexican
20 years,
food. Salsas and whatnot.
18 years, something like that.
Frequently referred to as El Asshole.
The armpit of Texas, the butthole of Texas.
Lone Star.
Bliss.
Hmm?
Home of Fort Bliss.
Yep, I lived there for a long time too.
Well, as a member of the Bliss family, one of, let's see, my great-great-grandfather was a colonel on Sherman's March.
Cool.
He had something like 11 or 12 wives over his time. He had so many kids that they aren't sure one of them is his child or his daughter, or his daughter's kid. Of course, in those days, it could have been his kid and his daughter's kid.
Ouch. 310 calories total.
Mm. Yeah, I had a 320 calorie breakfast biscuit. I'm still not losing weight, Joe, and I'm really lower than I should on the calorie count. One time I got under 270 for a couple of days, and now I'm back around 271.
What's your calorie count?
I've been keeping it. I've been aiming, like I told you before, at 1,200 and settling out around 18.
You must be missing some count.
I don't eat anything. I stay home all the time. I make sure that I'm if I eat a package of something, I make sure I'm reading the calories on the package, not the calories on the serving.
Are you gaining or staying the same?
Well, I lost some, and I seem to be hitting a bottom plateau over 270. I did get under 270 for a couple of days, but like 270, 269, 268. And I've got my weight back to about 2018, and I used to be in the 240 range. 230 I look kind of scrawny, but I should be 240, 250, 255.
Try upping your average amount of protein. Keep your calorie count the same. Switch your macros so you're higher protein.
Well, the problem there is with my kidneys. Proteins are, yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of great diet advice out there, but I can't do any of it. I need to find a nutritionist that can actually sit down and work with it with me.
Yeah.
And my doctors say they can't refer them. I literally will have to call my healthcare to get a referral.
Hmm. I tried talking to the nutritionist at the VA, but I evidently knew more
Yeah.
than the nutritionist at the VA. That'll never happen again.
Sounds like a good alternative career option if you ever want to switch.
What, Norbert?
Sounds like a good option if you ever want to switch careers.
I don't think Moss
If
qualifies for
no,
the
I'm
VA.
talking about you. I'm talking about you.
Oh, as a nutritionist? Nah. I'll become a YouTube fitness influencer. I'll make a channel
Oh,
called
yeah.
Dad Bod.
I mean, you should. You could.
I got the shoulders for it. Wow, look at that shit.
Yeah, we can always watch you pump iron.
I love pumping iron. Matter of fact, it's
I just can't
heavy
find a
chest
nipple
day.
on them to hook up my air pump.
Oh. What, on your chest? There's two of them.
No, on the iron. Where do you blow those things up?
On the bench.
Well, do we have a topic for next week?
Are you
This is the
joking?
first time that topic has come up about topics. So
Yes, this is the first time we've had a topic on topics.
You know, I never give up on miracles.
what do we want to talk about next show?
I believe
Norbert?
in miracles.
Can't you see
moment
the
to
smoke I'm
shine.
thinking? Sorry, the steam.
You don't want the smoke to escape, Norbert. That's how your computer breaks.
No, I'm talking about my head.
You don't have chips in your head?
Moss was talking about your head too.
Well, not yet. I'll
I
only
thought
ever
Bill
get
Gates had everyone install chips in their head by now.
well, I would only ever get a brain implant if both the hardware and software was open source. But I assume that doesn't surprise anyone.
Well,
You
we
got
should at
people
least
doing
make
pull
mention of the
requests
fact
for
that,
Norbert's
that
brain.
Mint turned 16 today.
Yep.
So if people think you're an asshole, they just do a pull request and change your personality.
And they pull your asshole?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have them pull my nipples, actually.
See, I'm not into pain. Not like that.
I have had a couple of girlfriends that I could be into pain with, but otherwise, no. It's just pain.
Was it
I
a
need
pain
an
in your ass,
adult.
Moss?
It has been. Long time since those days, though.
Ay, ay, ay. So one thing I do want to talk about on the next show is this New York Times article that's been kind of going around some other podcasts about a guy that took a photo of his son's crotch for a doctor because he needed the doctor to diagnose something, infant son. Sent this photo to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh yeah, that's a kind of rash," and sent him a prescription, just like normal people do. And
But the
then Google
catch was that this photo was backed up to his Google Drive.
went to the
His
Google
Google
Drive.
account.
Google flagged him
Oh,
for
man.
child pornography. Sent it to the authorities. Authorities said, "What the hell is this? Don't call us with this crap." And Google has still blocked the guy from his Gmail and his Google account. And
I think it's happened to two separate people already,
yeah,
hasn't it?
and it's not going to stop. And from Google's perspective, even if the police say, no, this isn't a thing, from their point of view, they want to minimize their future liability, so they're still going to block the guy's Google
Well,
account.
Yes, but
that's why you
the
have
thing
to
is
have
that-
your phone set up such that it does not save your photos.
Yeah, and get rid of Google Photos. Use Nextcloud. Get rid of Google Docs. Get rid of Gmail.
Yes, but the average person wouldn't know how to begin with setting up Nextcloud for
And see,
themselves.
that's a problem, isn't
Well,
it?
I can't get rid of Gmail because about half of my passwords on various services I use are my Gmail. And you have to go
one
to
thing is
Gmail
that-
to verify them.
Yeah, you got
One thing is that Google has all the rights to do this because they, like you said, they don't want to take a risk, so they don't want this person to be their customer.
right. So
The other thing
Well,
is
I
that
haven't seen that article because every time someone posts something New York Times, I go to open it up and it's behind a paywall.
see, the nice thing about Reddit is that so there's two subreddits, news and world news, and oftentimes when someone posts an article that's behind the paywall, someone who will access will just put the highlights in the comments.
So what's
Or
the
you could-
what is an answer? What is something that we in the tech community, what is something we could come up with to
That
to negate
could- that
a
Well,
could
problem?
be
we've got Proton Drive.
So Proton Drive. So we've got
there could be some sort
There,
of platform or
there are several potential solutions,
Alternatives.
including Nextcloud, BT Sync. How many different services are there where you can store something in the cloud and it's completely encrypted? I see a new ad for one probably every couple of days.
Yeah.
What was that? Spider Oak? Just
Yeah, I
to name
used
one.
that for a bit and it was kind of, I didn't like
The
it.
thing, the
Most of
thing
them
is
are
that they're-
garbage.
These phones are coming off the shelf with all the Google stuff not only
Yeah.
installed but turned on by default. And your average person doesn't know what the alternatives are. Most people
Or
I
care.
talk to
That's the important one. Or care.
And
when you say that Google stuff is turned on by default, that implies you can turn it off. You cannot turn it off.
Yes,
on,
you
on-
can.
On,
You
can
on,
turn
on an
Google Photos
unrooted
off.
phone.
you can
What do you
turn the
mean?
syncing. At the very least, you
Yes,
can
but
stop
the
it from
thinking,
syncing.
but you can't get rid of the Google services because that's required to access the Play Store, even to update stuff. If
If you're
unless
running
you-
Android, you can't turn it off. If you're running something based on AOSP, you can.
You can turn off Google Photos. You can uninstall Google Photos. You can't
Yeah,
turn
or
off
at least
Google
disable.
services. But it's Google Photos and Gmail. You don't have to use Gmail. You can.
Actually, I think
You
if
can
you go
create a
into
Google
settings
account
app and
with-
you find Google Play services, I think you can disable it, but I'm not sure.
You can
Maybe
literally
that's-
set up
Well,
a
if you're
Google
using
account with
Aurora
another
Store
email.
doesn't work very well, but if you use Aurora Store, it will log you in as anonymous. I use Aptoid on my Calyx OS for the most part. I've had better luck with Aptoid
Yeah.
than any of the other services.
I had recently tried using F-Droid again, and it is nowhere near as good as it used to be.
It's
Well,
F-Droid
there is
fine when
Ddroid,
you
which
know
is
what you want.
a front end for F-Droid that lets you organize it a little better.
If you know what you want, F-Droid is fine, but it's still just a place to download APKs.
Yeah.
I very recently started using F-Droid, and I'm just very slowly replacing my Play Store apps with F-Droid apps. But I know there's a bunch of them that I will never be able to replace. For example, Firefox is not even on F-Droid, which is
Fennec.
surprising to me.
It's Fennec.
Fennec?
Fennec.
Why isn't Firefox on there?
Apparently, it's not open source enough.
Well, I've got
Fennec is-
Firefox
What do you mean
beta
not
that I'm
enough
getting through
open source
Aptoid.
Fennec is. I've been using Fennec for years, and I don't know what they've taken out. I think it's the fact that it's GPL. Fennec is GPL.
Wait, so the Mozilla license is not so good compatible with F-Droid?
You know what? I haven't done.
Or is there closed source code in the Firefox Android app on the Play Store?
There must be some kind of metrics taking type code
Well,
in there somewhere.
I can get Firefox on Aptoid. I'm using Firefox beta just
Well,
for
it's
the hell
just
of
that
it.
F-Droid is very strict as far as the rules for
Yeah.
what they can allow in that store. So, but yeah, I've been using Fennec, and it is fine. It's a bit for bit, as far as I can tell.
Can it do Firefox Sync?
Yes,
Okay.
it is Firefox. It's just rebranded.
Yeah. Okay.
What's that?
So yeah,
Oh.
but I know that there are a couple of apps, but that I either won't be able to replace with who left. Oh, okay. That I will either not be able to replace or I don't want to replace. For example, Google Maps is just too convenient for me to look for anything
That's
else.
the one for me right there,
Yeah.
because Google Maps has got
There's nothing as
traffic
good as
on it
Google
and
Maps.
everything, and it's just so good when you're a professional driver. That thing has
Google-
saved me days of being
And
sitting.
even if you use Waze, Google owns Waze. They
There's
were
no-
talking about merging the two services, and they never have. But they bought Waze.
Well, I mostly use Google Maps but I mostly go by public transport. So
That's
I
another thing.
wouldn't
Yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't have need for Waze, but Google Maps, it's just great. You can basically the company that's running the public transport over here, they have an app where you can see. So basically nowadays there's GPS in each bus and everything. So you can see not just the schedule, but when it will actually arrive and where it is. And somehow the data flows into Google Maps. So even on Google Maps, you can see that this bus is 1 minute late or 5 minutes late. It's just too
Have
convenient.
you tried that K itinerary? That KDE
Sorry?
add-on? It's called K itinerary. It's supposed to be set up fairly well for public transportation.
Now, if there was somehow a different front end for Google Maps, that would be great.
Yeah.
Especially since the Google Maps. Did I say Google? Yeah, I said Google Maps. The Google Maps app seems to be more resource heavy than it should be. And recently, I found various open source front ends to services. For example, for Twitter, there's a website called knitter.net, and it's basically just even the images. If you go to an image and you click open a new tab, it won't be a Twitter link; it will be a Knitter link to somehow. So anyone can self-host it. There are a couple of public instances, and I'm not. So basically, I think that the Twitter data just goes through them. It's like a Cirx or Google.
Well, there's also
And-
OpenStreetMaps.
Yeah, and
But,
on F-Droid there's a Twitter client that it's not a Twitter client, it's a Knitter client called Fritter, and if you use that, so the Twitter data goes to Knitter. Not sure which instance. Maybe it's just a local on your phone. So basically, it doesn't even have a Twitter login option, but you can still follow people and even put them into groups. So you can have multiple timelines for multiple groups, which is something that neither Twitter or YouTube doesn't have. But this app Fritter has it, and a new pipe has it as well. And I think YouTube used to have this. You used to be able to create groups for your subscriptions, but nowadays you can't.
So I suppose if we was to try to help normal people break free, the first step is to get them to give a shit.
Yeah.
And then,
There
but
are
stories
people.
like this need to matter to
There are-
people.
If
I know
people gave a
who-
shit, we wouldn't even have Facebook.
Well,
I think if enough people get in trouble with the law, like what if that guy? There's another story actually of a guy that was in the middle of a mortgage thing, and they canceled his Gmail right when he was trying to get documents to sign, and he wasn't able to get his Gmail because they canceled it on him, and he had to restart the entire mortgage process, and he ended up losing the house as a result.
Yeah, his identity was locked up with his Gmail account
Yeah.
internally to the mortgage company.
Yeah. And this, I mean, that's when it needs to start mattering to normal people, because that's...
so that's very
Well, my
centralized. but even
Firefox is tied
But-
into my Gmail account. I tried
know
to
what?
change it, and they won't let me.
Even nerds don't want to manage their own email server.
No, but there's good options out there. Well, for nerds, we got Tutanota and Proton.
Yeah.
That's solved. The problem is solved for us.
I have a paid Proton account, but not an unlimited.
I paid
And the
for
unlimited is not
Tutanota
unlimited.
because Tutanota comes with a calendar, and at the time, Proton didn't.
What does Proton? Yeah.
Does Proton have a calendar
Yes, it
associated
does.
with it?
Has a couple glitches. You can't make edits on your phone, but you can on your computer.
But Tutanota keeps getting blocked from various services, I heard.
They got locked from Crunchyroll.
Wait, I heard about two. Microsoft
You a big
blocks
Crunchyroll fan,
Tutanota users
Bill?
from on
No, I
service.
don't even know what it is, but I just know that happened to a guy.
Okay, so Microsoft is one of the companies who are blocking Tutanota.
Crunchyroll is where people go to watch anime.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
no.
You know what? There's something interesting. When I was looking for a Matrix home server to make my account, at one point I tried registering on the KDE instance. Tried to register with my ProtonMail account, and it said this email provider is not allowed on their instance. Why?
No, because they've got their own encryption between client to client. If they allowed IMAP or something like that, then you could use a third-party client.
I'm talking about just creating a Matrix account.
Oh.
A Matrix Messenger. And I just the account requires an email, and they didn't let me use a ProtonMail.
That's
Well,
a
we
problem.
did that for a while. Josh Hawk had a Matrix instance that we were actually starting to use and just didn't catch on. And he did something wrong, and when he wanted to fix it, he had to totally reboot the whole thing. And
Matrix requires somebody paying attention to it all the time.
yeah,
In the end, I found an instance called technics.de. I assume that's how you pronounce it. It's tchncs.de, which I wanted to have an instance. I wanted to be on an instance that is not too small or neither too big. So, like, if it had like a few hundred people users, that's probably too small. And if it had like millions of users, it's too big. This one has around 10,000 users, which I think it's reasonable. It's small enough to not worry about it being too big, but it's big enough to not worry about it going away suddenly.
So Proton,
yeah, I've got a couple of Mastodon addresses, but I only use one.
Proton does have a calendar now.
I don't even use Twitter, so I don't see any reason in starting using Mastodon. Because of this app I mentioned, Twitter, where you can just use Twitter without an account. Sometimes I browse Twitter that way, but I mean, a read-only Twitter experience is probably the most healthy Twitter experience.
Well, I have Twitter. I have stopped using Twitter because it doesn't let me control how my stuff is coming in. I'm off it for like 6 hours. I open it up and it's showing me things from 3 days ago. I'm going, well, I already saw that.
Yeah.
Twitter's a train wreck.
If you follow the right people, Twitter. Some people say Twitter is a cesspool, but if you follow the right people, it's really not. You can. I just started following like 24 people involved in FOSS and Linux. I don't look at Twitter much, but if you follow the people who know, it's not.
I
I'm not going
just can't
to
use it. It does not let me use it right.
Well, between YouTube and Reddit, I think I can get all the content that I want. So I guess Reddit has been my Twitter substitute.
And I have never used Reddit.
Reddit's pretty good.
Reddit's.
I use Reddit.
On every platform you can find toxicity, but
You're not going to escape toxicity.
Yeah, but if you want toxicity, and you want that format, I don't think you go to Reddit. I think you go to B.
I've never been on 4chan, and I don't really see any reason to
4chan?
go to 4chan ever. Might be just.
If you enjoy negativity, it's a great place.
Okay.
Counts me out.
That leaves me out. Yeah.
I suppose my generation are people a bit older than me, so maybe people around in their early 30s. So basically, the millennials. For a while, it has
That was a great way to
been.
make me feel old. God, people
Well,
older than me in their mid-30s.
you're the one who called me a kid before. So
You are a kid.
You are a
it,
kid.
I know.
Get off my lawn!
So saying that doesn't make you feel old.
Well, I
Saying
didn't
that you're a
need to
kid?
say that to feel old.
How old are you?
So what I want to say that self-deprecatory humor seems to be very popular with this generation. I
How old
found
are
it funny
you?
for 26.
26.
Oh, he's older than I thought he was.
Yeah, a little older than I thought he was.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Well,
I thought
I
you were gonna
used
say
to
like
have
22, and I was
You
gonna be
might
like,
not enjoy
yeah,
that
my
right
kids
now.
are almost your age.
Trust me, you're gonna miss the day when some people used to say that.
Bunch of young whippersnappers.
God, people used to say I had such
Yeah.
a baby face, and I haven't heard that in so long
Well,
now.
you do have a
Well,
very cherubish face even now.
What was that word again?
It's the
Cherubish.
Cherubish.
but
like a
that's me.
cherub.
Cherubish.
So-
Yeah,
okay, I
if my
know what it
face
is.
wasn't gray, people
Yeah.
would think I was younger.
Well,
I shave it off.
until
and
2 years ago, I used to have
15
a
years younger.
mustache and sort of a beard, but well, I should shave. But nowadays, I just don't because I got.
I'm gonna shave
bored of it.
everything off, and I'm gonna look like I'm like Norbert's age or something.
It would take
Okay.
me 9 years to grow it out that long.
Yeah.
I had cut this in February to there,
Yeah.
and now, so from
that was
February till
That
now.
was your yearly shaving.
That was I'm doing a campaign, and I can't look too beatnik.
Mhm.
Right. God forbid somebody in
So what
Texas
I-
looks like they're from Texas.
He lost, but not by that much.
Comparatively.
I mean,
Was the
there
winner
were
a
what
Republican?
3 seats open, and you had the fourth most votes.
Something like that. 3 seats open, and I got the fourth most votes. I had 38% of the vote for the seat that I was running for, which is honestly pretty good considering, the 13-year incumbent I was up against.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Do you plan to run again?
Probably not. I plan to move as soon as I can. As soon as I can find a job that's either 100% remote.
I've been saying that for 6
or-
years.
Yeah, I know. It's not a simple or easy thing to do to move, especially if you're trying to move out of state. It sure as hell
Yeah,
isn't cheap.
your state.
Well,
your
we
state
are
com-
finding a lot of really nice looking, really, really cheap houses in southern and central Illinois. And then we go and look up the politics of that county, and they're
Yeah, no.
all ultra right wing. And I'm going, but Illinois is a Democrat state. Yeah,
Up
Which is
north.
why everybody's moving out of those counties.
yeah. That's
reason
why the
it-
houses are so cheap, because nobody can stand their neighbors anymore.
The thing about Illinois is you get the perception that it's a Democrat state because the vast majority of their voter base is in Chicago.
Well, there are some counties but the counties with more Democrats have higher real estate prices.
Well, the other thing about Illinois is they've got one of the poorest counties in the country down in Pulaski County, which is all the way to
You
the
can-
southern tip.
You can always just look at the election results on a per county basis.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I did.
Right on the Indiana border. That's the
we've-
border.
No,
We-
on the
Kentucky border. Yeah.
Kentucky and Missouri border,
Yeah.
kind of like these together. Down. At
Well,
the
we've been
bottom there.
finding all these really nice places, really cheap, but most of them are in towns that are all Q country.
I think if you want country living with a democratic base, you're going to have to go Pacific Northwest.
Well, see,
unfortunately.
we don't want cold.
Well, that's
Yeah.
And Illinois is as far south as you get as a blue state
No.
that isn't New Mexico or California.
Illinois in general is cold. Freaking
I know, but
Cold.
if you look at latitude, it's as far south as you get that is a blue state that isn't.
Arizona might be
Arizona-
red, might as well not be. New Mexico is at least open enough that it doesn't matter people's politics.
But there's no water.
There's no water in Arizona either.
There is in Illinois.
You could go to Colorado.
It's,
Is in Mexico.
I used to live in Colorado and the altitude for a while.
Okay. Oh,
Is in
I
Mexico
have
red?
some friends there. I have a lot of bad blood there because most of my growing up was done in Colorado.
Jackie
growing up
wants
meaning after 17.
Jackie wants like Washington or Oregon,
It's too
Better
wet
get
and
rich.
cold.
right? No, it's insane in like some of the bigger areas in Washington. Oregon, not so much, but in Washington, just how much more I would have to make in order to just stay the same, like double.
Well, when I was an Uber driver here in Knoxville, I was driving this guy around that had his own software engineering firm in Knoxville. And Google offered him a job at triple what he was making. And he went to look for housing and he found out it'd be a pay cut for him. There was no way he could live in Silicon Valley at 3 times what he's making here in Knoxville. And he's got a mansion on the river here.
Half your people that work for Google in Silicon Valley are like living in
Silicon.
RVs.
Silicon is a different valley.
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. I think that's down in Dollywood.
That's where they make the breast implants.
Yeah, that's.
Silicon Valley. My bad. But anyways,
Those
they're
2 words I
mostly
never.
they're
It's
mostly
unfortunate.
living in RVs in parking lots.
Yeah.
Along the street, too, yeah.
Why do you think Chris Fisher still lives in an RV?
He
Because
has a
he was
house.
tired of the rat race.
What? He does not have a house.
Yeah, he's got a
He was
house.
tired of the
That's
rat
what he
race.
uses as a studio.
Oh.
Yeah. And at one point they were renting.
I always hear him talking about it being just a storage shed.
It's got a full garage and everything. He was talking about one of the servers going out because it was getting too hot in the garage, and so he went in there and decided he was going to leave the door cracked open a little bit and open one of the side windows to provide some more air for the servers. And then he left, and he came back, and it was right when the cottonwood trees were, and so he came back, and his whole inside of his garage was covered in cottonwood, and then cats were going in there pissing all over everything.
Oh, I hate cottonwood season.
Oh, I do too. It gets in there.
Oh.
I had to get a power washer.
So really,
I
our
don't know
only
if
other
it's
option,
cottonwood itself,
our only
or-
other option is just get some land up in the middle of nowhere, up in the Tennessee mountains. Bothers you regardless, and we're too old for that. I could not build my own house. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I thought about doing it once, but I'd need a house so doggone big.
Yeah.
We're finding some nice houses in Illinois, Bill. You could probably sell
Well,
your house and move.
look, another couple of years, and you'll start seeing a lot more of these 3D printed houses. It's coming along a lot slower than I think it should, but it's coming along, and 3D printed houses will make it a whole lot cheaper.
Nothing like a plastic house.
Oh no,
But it's
it's
not
actually
plastic.
they 3D print with cement. So
Yeah, it's they're using all kinds of materials. Yeah,
I
before
think the
long
nozzle
they'll
would
have
get clogged.
they'll merge that technology with drone technology, and then you'll have drones flying around for 3D printing things right in place.
But we're seeing tiny houses starting at $50,000. We don't have that.
yeah, that's nuts. I mean, you can literally buy a camper and fix it up for like $1,000 if you find one that needs work. So tiny houses
Well,
for
we don't need a tiny house.
$50,000
We have 3
is
cats.
bullshit.
Well, I need to get off of here, so let's.
We still haven't
What's
picked
our
a topic.
topic?
Yeah, we need to pick a topic so that.
Happy birthday, Mint.
Yep, that too.
Isn't
year?
that the topic?
How much we hate Norbert.
Norbert, it's all about you,
We-
man.
Yeah, we could talk about Mint 21, but I'm not sure if there are enough.
No, I mean Linux
apparent-
1. Talk about the history, you know.
This upgrade to Mint 21 has been
Doesn't have. It has a lot of nice under the hood changes, but there's not much apparent.
been absolutely undramatic.
Yeah,
And-
why
Well,
is it Mint 21 if Mint's only been around for 16 years?
Yeah. I still think that the rebase to a way more recent version of Matter is a huge change, because it was previously based on Matter, like a 10-year-old version of Matter, and now they rebased on, I think, 1 or 2-year-old version of Matter. So
I
it's
have
a
been
huge
having
jump.
problems with Mint 21 on each machine, little niggling different problems, and on my T540p, I literally had to just totally redo the whole machine.
The only issue I have been having is the display manager has so much less options.
You froze, Joe. There.
No, he just stopped moving.
I just stopped moving. The display manager has so much less options. That's it.
Like what? You mean the display settings in the?
Yes.
You see, that's
Hardly
because
have-
they are now based on. That's now also based on the GNOME display settings.
Yeah, I wonder if those settings are sitting in the dconf editor.
Maybe.
Let's see.
I'm also
Or if it's
having
something
more
to do with the
EFI
kernel.
problems than ever.
Where would it
Some
be?
things just set up EFI, and for some reason they're setting it up on a 32-bit EFI partition. And that means I can't install a 64-bit anything.
You're doing something wrong there. Where would the settings be in dconf?
Not sure.
Org.
I am having more and more grub problems.
Because you're using Grub.
Well, 2 years ago I had grub all figured out. Now I don't. It's I
Did you
try
have
and
Grub
do.
figured out, or did you have Grub Customizer figured
I had grub figured out. I was doing sudo grub install, and now I do sudo grub install, and it says, "Oh, the 32-bit system, you didn't define the this and that and the others, and it doesn't matter how you define them, it doesn't work anyhow."
Why does
Maybe
it
you
think you
should
have a
try
32-bit?
just reformatting the
Don't
entire
say
EFI
refined
partition.
again.
I've said
I will shoot
reformat.
you.
I said reformat. I did not once say refine today. Just now.
Well, refined has never been a solution for me, even when I had these problems and I tried refined.
I was going to say maybe you should just try nuking your EFI partition and then reinstall grub, and to let it. So maybe you should just install a distro and tell it to
But
nuke the EFI
2/3
partition.
of the distros I install want an EFI partition.
Yes, but that's why I say you should create a new one. You should just reformat the current one and create let distro installation recreate it.
Well, they don't really want to do that, especially like if I'm installing it on SDB and it doesn't like the EFI partition on SDA. Sometimes it tries to create one on SDB and then it can't read it, and so I don't boot.
What I mean is that you should install something like Mint on SDA,
Start
and then
completely from scratch.
in the installation in the partitioning, it will select your EFI partition. You should go and tell it to reformat the EFI partition, so it will just wipe the current grub that's on it and reinstall its grub.
Well, then whatever had the current grub in it won't boot.
No,
Yes,
I mean you start completely from
it will,
scratch.
because it will run OS Prober, and it will find all your installed systems, and it will be
I have had more and more and more problems. I had to totally. I had 5 distros on my T540p, and I had to reinstall 4 of them, and I had to figure out the proper
nuts.
order to reinstall them in to get them all to work.
Well, now that you mentioned refined, I haven't had any EFI problems since I've been using refined.
So why don't you use Refine, Moss?
Because it's never solved anything, even when I tried to use it.
Hey, Moss,
Yes.
have you checked out Refined?
No, Joe. Never heard of it.
You see, real talk, the thing about refined is
I'm
that
sending a pipe bomb to your address, Joe.
Arch Wiki
Of course, you'll have to fix it first.
Refined.
The thing about Refine is that you do have to do a lot more manual configuration, but the only configuration there is manual. So unless you touch it, that means it will never break.
Systemd boot. You've got 2 text files with 3 lines each. Boom, you're done.
And
Can
nothing
it
will
handle
boot from it ever
multi-booting well?
again.
All it is a shim that allows you to pass some.
What I need to
kernel.
do is just start having individual computers and stop doing my multi-booting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
multi-booting is probably mother.
I may or may
My
not have
smoke
5
getting to you,
different-
Bill?
No, I got a gnat
Well-
in here.
Yeah, I've had a couple gnats in here.
Just have a
I
separate hard
may-
drive for all your different operating systems.
That doesn't work either because they look to one hard drive to boot from.
The thing about Refine
Everything
is
It
is-
works. No,
The
no, no. It
longer
works.
we work on Linux, the more it acts like Windows.
You just have to disconnect the one hard drive and hook up the other hard drive, and then each
Oh
one
yeah,
of them's got
sure.
their own
I'm going to
drive.
go. I'm going to take the back off of my computer and
You
disconnect
got
the
a
hard.
toaster.
The toaster is only on my desktop.
what I was doing at one point. I have this
I should get
external
another
casing
toaster. Yeah,
for an M.2
my wife would
SSD.
not appreciate that.
I need to get one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
have
it-
one of those on the back of this right now. Hold on. Oh no, I took it off.
Well, this particular model of toaster is hard to find, but I've seen them cheap lately. 1 or 2 of them.
You know, it's funny.
Actually,
I look up toaster and I get something completely different.
Well,
I have,
they don't call it a toaster. It just looks like a toaster.
I have Batacera installed on this right now. The problem is it's only 128 gig hard drive, and I have way too many ROMs for it. So,
Does that come with all the emulators pre-installed?
yes, it does. And all you gotta do is drop the ROMs on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So I switched over to a 1 terabyte for my Batacera that I use on this little 7-inch machine that I'm using right now to talk to y'all.
was it a hard drive or an SSD?
This is a hard drive,
Yeah.
so it's not going to last forever. I already know that. I already had one go
I've got
bad.
one of
But,
those upstairs, and it's going on 10 years old now.
Yeah, but
Bill,
you know, I
can-
got this for like $10.
Mhm.
So when
Can
it dies,
system
who gives a
be-
shit?
Can systemd boot handle multi-booting very well?
Yeah, you just create a separate loader file for
And-
each individual.
Can it auto-populate? Can it auto-create those files?
No, you got to write them yourself, but they're only
Yeah,
like 3
because-
lines.
You know how so grab can auto-populate because it can just detect everything and then create its entries for itself.
Well, it's got all the like. It doesn't need entries. Well, I mean, you create the entries, but each one of them is just a 3-line text file.
So,
Going back to toasters, Bill. You can find ST334s all over the
completely
place.
just bypass picking a topic again.
yeah,
Sorry about that, Moss. Go ahead.
we
You
could
can find
do something.
ST334s all over the place. It's a 336 that's impossible to find.
Go look
I
at
was
the Arch Wiki for systemd boot. It shows you got to create one config file for systemd boot, right? You got to execute a command to install it, and then create the EFI entry for systemd boot. And then you can call it whatever you want, and then you create the config file that tells it which one of them is the default, and then what you want the font size to be, and then I think there's another entry whether or not you want to enable the console.
Where do you put the kernel parameters?
The kernel parameters are in each one of the entry files. So
Okay.
that's where it gets cool, because you can create separate entries if you want to create different boot environments. Like if you want to create a boot environment where you've got all of the boot up messages turned on, you can have that as a separate,
Okay. Yeah, but if I have a system and I use systemd boot and I install another distro, I will have to manually create the entry file, right? It doesn't auto-create it.
No, you have to create it
Okay.
yourself.
Yeah.
But it's
You
just
see,
it's
this-
so
the-
dead simple that
Yeah.
There's no
The thing is that
flashiness to it. It's just a shim on top of the UEFI boot that's already in the kernel. That's all it is.
it is the same with Refined. You have to manually create the entry file where you can put in the parameters. But the catch is that on Refined you don't put the entries on the EFI partition. You put each entry on its root partition. And when Refined finds a kernel in /boot of the partition, it will also find in /boot the refined Linux config. And in that you can put all the kernel parameters. But my favorite thing about Refined is that it doesn't have a static. I can see Moss looking very concerned and Joe smiling. I'm not sure what that means.
Moss
But
is not looking at anything that you're talking
Okay.
about right now. I'm still
Yeah.
back on the
So
toaster.
my favorite thing about Refined is that it doesn't have any list of it doesn't have any entries stored on the EFI partition whatsoever unless you write them. You can also put the entries on the EFI partition, but it will auto populate the list on each boot. So what I've been doing for a while is that I could have a system installed on my internal SSD, and then I could have something else installed in the external SSD, but not have an EFI partition on this one, only the internal one. So whenever I just boot my computer, it will see what's on my internal drive, and if I plug this in and then start the computer, it will just magically show up as an entry because it will scan everything that it can find, and it takes like 1 second to do it. It's not like there's both Ubiquiti and Calamaris have that when you have a lot of disks, it will take a long time for them to scan them before you can install. But that's only for installation, because once you have your grub entries, it will only update when you run grub update, or if you like update your kernel. Refind is all do it yourself manually, but because of that, it won't just break after an update. I mean, at one point, so I started using Refind with Arch. I just told it, okay, so I just pointed it to the Intel microcode, because for some reason on Arch, the microcode is a separate file. It doesn't go into the initram FS.
Yeah,
But
that's
on
not true.
Fedora,
You've gotta
but
give it a
so
path to all of the binaries it needs to start
Yeah.
up. So the path to the
yes, but
kernel.
on any other system, whether it be Gentoo or Debian or Void, it just finds the kernel, and it could boot without even be giving any custom. See, this could be a great episode. This might get uploaded at one point.
What bootloader?
Someone
Just
wants $1,000 for their toaster.
So, but when I was installing Fedora and I installed the NVIDIA drivers, it would still use Nuvo. And then I looked it up, and turns out I had to pass 2 different kernel parameters, or maybe 3, that will block Nuvo from being loaded.
Joe's waving.
So then it would use the proprietary drivers. The most extreme case of having to add kernel parameters that I found for Refined was on Alpine Linux. Alpine Linux, I had to pass a kernel parameter for it to be able to handle ext4 file systems. So it wouldn't be able to just boot from an ext4 partition without... I mean, I just looked at what it puts in the grab entry by default, and I copied that over to Refined. Yes, like I said, Moss was complaining about Refined having a lot of leftover entries. That's because you do have to delete the unused entries from the FI partition manually.
But you can't delete them. You can only hide them.
No, you can if you in the terminal, you switch to root, you go into /boot/EFI/EFI, and you list the entries. You will find
and they don't identify the same as they do in Refined, and so you have to still figure out which is which, and they are not very easily identified.
They are, because anything that is
Debian they are not, and I hate getting shouted down on this.
Can I finish?
I have been in there. I have looked in those. Well, I'm glad you can do it, but I can't, and it's not easy.
Let me finish. Fedora will always put its boot loader in a directory called Fedora. Debian will put it inside the directory called Debian. Anything Ubuntu based will put it in a directory called Ubuntu, and I know because I've seen it countless times.
But when everything you have is Ubuntu based, it all goes in the Ubuntu directory, and you can't tell it apart.
But if it's Ubuntu based and it's using the Ubiquiti installer, you can just start the Ubiquiti installer with Ubiquiti
Norbert,
tech B, and
Norbert,
it won't reinstall grub.
I don't know what you think you're talking about, but it doesn't work for me, and I hate
Full
getting
disclaimer,
told
I
over and
have
over and over that it's easy to do when it's not.
full disclaimer, I have never daily driven anything Ubuntu based,
So if I could
so
just gently steer this conversation
Yeah, we need to get the steer
towards
out of the room.
over towards, let's get a topic for next week.
What's the topic?
Londoner said there's a topic, bootloaders. I think we did that a few months back, didn't we?
that was more technical. But yeah,
That was less about bootloaders and more about grub rescue and the different recipes that
troubleshooting,
come
yeah.
up. Yeah.
And me shilling refined, which I can never do enough of.
I don't
Because
want to
it's
do
great.
another one of these arguments on the air.
Argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hurt. Thank you, Bill. I don't either, and I'm really tired of it coming up over and over.
But to add to my, I feel like I have to say that I find system deboot much more nice and simple, straightforward than grub.
One thing's for sure:
Grub is,
if you've only
I-
got
I
one
think-
operating system, it's the best choice because it's the
So-
easiest.
basically grub is something that was designed to work with legacy boot, and when UEFI came along, it was sort of patched
shoehorned
to work
in,
with it,
yeah.
and it's not a very pleasant thing. I mean, you only have to care about grub when it's broken, but when it's broken, it's not a very pleasant thing to fix.
And you also get the
So-
feeling that grub is one of those things that was made to not be messed with. It was made to basically put on the system, make it available if you need it, but for
What
the most
I
part,
don't
Hit
understand
it and forget
is
it.
yeah.
is that so Refind only works with UEFI, and if Refind can scan all my drives and populate the list on the fly within a second, then why does it take grub minutes to run OS Pro?
Are we still on this?
populate its list? Well, we kind of steer back to it.
I
No.
think,
No,
part of it
But
you
I
steered us
don't
back
really
to
have-
it.
Yes, but I no longer have anything to add to it.
All right, let's.
So
pick a
do we
topic.
want to do bootloaders?
No.
That's a
I
no.
don't. Yep, that's a no.
So find another topic.
Did someone delete the topic ideas document that I had on Drive?
No,
I didn't.
should still
I
be
don't
there.
delete anything. Except
Where is
occasionally
it?
my audio from goes because it
Topic
takes up too much
ideas.
space.
Okay, I found it, but I found it via search, so I have no idea what directory it is in.
Hold on a minute here.
Okay, someone put it in mintCast hosts, so someone did tamper with it.
God,
I'm
Chrome
not
is making
calling.
me
I'm not
re-sign into all
saying
my
name.
accounts.
Moss. So
It's in mintCast host.
Mintcast hosts.
yeah,
The heck is it doing? Okay, topic ideas. All right, let's see what we got. Oh my.
half of these are something that have been covered like in the past year or so. The other half is, I guess, not very good. For example, the cryptocurrencies is not very Linux, and I personally wouldn't be able to say much
I wouldn't either.
because I will never get into crypto. And the inside look at podcasting is basically a big rundown, I assume, and the technical side. So that's the meta
I like
topic.
this one at the bottom. Specific niche cases, niche use cases where Linux stands out.
Yeah, when I came up with that, I was thinking about stuff like, for example, in machine learning, they exclusively use Linux because that's just something that they don't do on Windows. I guess it boils down to specific fields where there are a lot of packages.
I mean,
For example, a few months ago, there was news about like thousands of new packages flooding the AUR by the same publisher, and it turns out it was a specific set of tools for bioinformatics, which were just automatically dumped to the AUR yeah. So I guess that's not really So yeah, I guess it's in a way it's not a very good topic in the sense that the things that we could say are like anything that's a specific use case will usually require like a modified kernel or something like the IoT devices. So, but the fact that they use Linux and not Windows, it's kind of a no, it's kind of an obvious thing because of its customizability.
Well, I mean, there's so
So
much when it comes
if
to the
we,
server space,
yeah,
for starters. Um, your containerized workloads and that work so much better on
yeah,
Linux.
yeah, I guess we could work with this topic. Oh, I remember I was listening to an episode of Destination Linux, and Jill is working in the animation industry, and she mentioned that a lot of the tools in the animation industry are just developed for Linux.
Yeah,
And so,
because
for
they're
example, animation is one of those industries where it makes a lot more sense to use run Linux than Windows. And I think even someone mentioned that they used to edit Doctor Who on CentOS in DaVinci Resolve. I'm not sure, but who mentioned it. Uh, so I don't even know that. What do they use to edit professional like Hollywood movies?
like, oh,
I know that
Da
there are a number
Vinci
of
and
industry standard software that I don't even know the name of. But what operating system do they use for those?
oh boy, it's probably almost certainly Windows.
Is it? I
For
remember a few years ago
editing
there were news
video,
about the new Will
Or
Smith
Mac.
movie coming out,
Oh
and
yeah,
the
Mac.
news. So a couple of years ago there was a Will Smith movie that came out, and the big headline was that it was exclusively the final cut was done on a Mac on Final Cut. So I assume that Final Cut is not what they generally use, otherwise it wouldn't have been newsworthy. But yeah.
So what do you think, Moss?
Moss has stopped thinking.
What
They
do
use Blender.
Have you tried to restart it, close it and start it again?
what? What's wrong?
Moss.
Thank you, Norbert.
Have you tried turning it
It's
off,
a
turning
bit,
it back on again?
yeah, the Bill Gates method.
It
I
seems to
guess that
work.
translates to getting sleep in terms of humans.
What do you think
I
about
have
this
tried
topic,
turning
Joe?
Norbert off and back on again, and it.
Discord cut off the end of your sentence.
What do
I can read lips. You're better off that way.
you,
Oh, okay. Is it? I assume sometimes it's a useful skill to have.
this last topic here? What do you think, Joe? Specific niche cases where Linux stands out. You think we can make a show out of that?
Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah, we can do
Well,
that.
Okay.
Cluster
I guess,
computing, freaking.
yeah. I guess IoT devices and servers are the most obvious example, but like I said, there are things like the animation industry that could. I guess I could do some research on that
I think you're gonna
and talk
find
about
where
and
we're standing out the most is in containerized workloads and
and things like mathematics and machine learning and data science. I mean, data science might be
All your
too
servers.
generic.
all the
I
servers.
mean, nobody in the business industry uses Windows Server anymore, as far as I know. At least, if they do, it's for a legacy system or something extremely niche. Everybody uses a Linux server.
Including
When
Azure.
was the last? When was the most recent version of Windows Server released?
I don't even
Are
know.
they
I don't even know if
are they
that's a
still
thing
doing
anymore.
it? I do have that old laptop, that white one, right? Currently running Debian, and I have a hard drive next to it, so it's file server. It works fine, I guess. Since I went into the router settings and I gave static local IPs to all my devices, it's been way better because
Yeah, you have to do that if you're gonna.
transmission requires a whitelist of client devices, and if the IP changes, I had to modify that, but if the IP doesn't change, no problem.
All right, so let's call that topic
Uh, yep.
chosen. And
I'm not even here. What's the topic?
Another
Specific
another
niche cases for where Linux is the best choice.
and you can't just say all.
well, if you want to use collaborative editing on Microsoft 361, then Windows is probably the best choice.
Why?
I recently Tech had uploaded a video about I think it's only Office that has like a Microsoft 365 like web version where maybe you can do like real time collaborative editing on documents, which is something
I
that
think all
I'm
you
not
need
even
is
sure.
Edge.
Sorry.
You got Edge, Microsoft Edge,
I-
and
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
do.
but the thing is that the web version of Office is way more dumb than the actual desktop of
Oh,
Microsoft Office. And if you log in via your Microsoft account on the actual Office apps, you can still do the real time editing with other people. If the files is not on your computer but on their server.
I'm getting ready to do an interesting project.
I'm not sure if
Look what you did.
LibreOffice can
Look what you
do
did,
any
Norbert. Look
collaborative
what you did.
editing.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Did I do that?
I suppose you did,
I
but
mean, I wasn't talking about Refind. I was talking about Microsoft Office.
yeah, well, it had a delayed
And
response.
LibreOffice and only Office. The only one thing I wasn't talking about is SoftMaker Office. Maybe that's the problem.
Oh, no. I think he got all bent out of shape about because he doesn't like the. I don't know. He got bent out of shape talking about Refined.
Yeah.
He really let that get to him, and
Uh,
for God's sake.
oh,
And well, okay. Yeah. Anyway,
Mm.
let's call that a topic. And
yeah. And maybe I will refrain from speaking about Refined. I mean, I just
no, you ought to
genuinely
be able
find
to
it.
talk about Refined.
Yeah, I just genuinely find it one of the best pieces of software as for related to Linux.
Maybe just
So based
don't troll him
pretty
so
much
much.
pretty much a few weeks ago I started using uBlock Origin, and I thought to myself, well, this is the greatest piece of software that I found since I discovered Refined.
What? uBlock Origin?
uBlock Origin. I haven't been using any ad blocker for years, and I only started using it like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago.
I took it off of mine because I got Pi-hole running now, so I don't even need it.
Yeah.
Pi-hole blocks everything on the network level. All right, kids.
Except for ads on YouTube. Pi-hole won't block ads on YouTube.
Oh.
I solved that by having a YouTube Premium subscription, which is I think it's the least I can do to support any creator that I watch a video from. It doesn't even matter if I remember the creator's name or not. The fact that I watched the video means that at least I get to give them something. I have a friend who argues that if they really like someone, they will just become a patron, but like you cannot donate to everyone you watch because if you watch a lot of people, and this way you don't get to give much, but you get to give at least some to everyone that you watch.
Yeah, I can see the logic in that.
Even if Google takes like half of the money.
All right, kids, I'm gonna get out of here. I got yard work
Yeah.
to do.
Me too.
Because I'm coming to Texas next week, Joe. But it's gonna
Texas is a big state. You're gonna have to be a bit more
be. I'm
specific.
getting ready to narrow it down. I'm going to Corpus Christi,
Corpus Christi. That's
Yeah.
far away.
Body of Christ. Yes. Taking a dump trailer down there, so they're in the process at the shop right now of polishing
Yeah,
down
my
one
brain
of our dump
my brain
trailers.
was in the process of switching to Latin and tried to translate, but
Yep, there you
in the
go.
end I didn't have to.
There's
I
they got a lot of
I knew
bodies
that
out now down there. I don't know about Christ.
I got to the point that okay, corpus is body, but Christy, I was thinking about like not Christ, but what's Christa in Latin?
I don't know, but I know in that case it's.
Does it just come from Christ?
Yeah. No,
Okay, Christa
Christopher.
is a
Yeah,
female given
probably.
name, which means chosen one. It's okay. It's probably from. But I know it's a term in biology. Okay, a Christa is a fold in the inner membrane of a mitochondrion. Okay, so that's where it was familiar.
All right, kids, I'm gonna get off of here. For
Right.
anybody that watched,
Me too.
Have a nice rest of your days.
yep. Have a good one, folks.